Good morning, Mike and Arlen, our Philippine journey. Thank you so much for dropping by, for viewing, subscribing, watching, commenting. We appreciate all of it. Um, we always see these videos, you'll see plenty of them, about how it's impossible to eat well in the Philippines on a budget. And that's probably true. It just depends on what your budget is. But is it expensive? We would say no. We certainly don't think it is. But you know what? Let's talk about that.
Why'd you have to go? I guess this world's too slow for you. I think there's beauty in the gray, the cold, but you just want the gold. And there's no way I can beat it, cause I got no chance, no chance when it comes to her. She got the glitter and the fame, and I just wasn't enough.
All right. So we're going to show you several examples, 4 or 5 different examples, foods, cost, what it is. But I think we need to understand a few things first, all right, so that we're not misunderstood. What's inexpensive and what we measure things by, often we relate that to where we are or where we're coming from. So in other words, if you're coming from America or Australia and you compare that to the price here in the Philippines, it's inexpensive for the same type of thing. Can you eat well? Well, we tend to think we eat pretty well, maybe not as healthy as we should, but certainly we eat as tasty as we need, and you can go from one extreme to the other. The third thing is that it's going to be a little bit different between a tourist and an expat. An expat lives here. A tourist, generally, many tourists are not going to be in the mood to cook their own meals. They're not going to be in the mood to make their own meals. They're not going to be in the mood to do certain things. And expats, well, for like instance, Arlen and I, 70 to 80% of the food that we eat, we cook here. Arlen's an excellent cook. Finally, I would say this, when we do these comparisons, if you don't like or eat Filipino food, you should know that before you come here and be prepared that those options are not going to be available to you. And that's probably 30 to 50% of all the food that's out there that's affordable. Although there's a lot of other affordable food, and we're going to show it to you, okay? We honestly are. So, with all of that being said, how do we compare these different things and what we get out of it? Well, for instance, breakfast. Now, I go to breakfast twice a week. And when I go to breakfast, I generally get something similar to this. Now, this is what they call a Mexican omelet at Tequila Reef. All right. It comes with eggs, toast. It's an omelet. It's stuffed with meat and cheese, and toast, and butter, and jam, and 2 cups of coffee. Well, you know what? In fact, let's just take a look at that. All right. So, a Tequila Reef had Mexican omelet breakfast, 3 eggs with cheese and meat, hash browns or home fries. I didn't include that in the picture. I'm sorry. 2 cups of brewed coffee, not instant. 2 toast, white or whole wheat, butter and jam. Total cost 580 pesos, $9.39. Except we always end up getting at least 2 meals out of one of these. I will always have takeout left over, bring it home, and it's there for Arlen's breakfast if she's not with me. Otherwise, we'll split it. So that's $4.49 for breakfast. Now, you could have a couple bananas and a mango. Cheaper. You can buy cheaper, but I mean, I don't think this is really bad. And compare that to what is it going to cost you at Waffle House or Denny's or Tim Hortons or wherever it is that you live to get an omelet made with 3 eggs, hash browns, home fries, 2 cups of coffee, and toast. I think that that's pretty much, cheap. And I'm not exaggerating. There's the bill. 1 hash brown, 1 Mexican omelet, 580 pesos. Now, there's a discount that's been applied. I get a discount at Tequila Reef. All right. Mike, the owner, I happen to know him. All right. So we're old friends. But what about if you wanted to eat cheaper? Suppose you had a place to cook and you're making your own food. Well, here's a staple. Now, I've never quite understood the British love of beans on toast. In fact, when I was in London one time, I've been there a couple times. Well, when I was in London one time, I actually saw them serving beans on fish, fried fish, fish and chips, mushy peas. Yeah, I can see that. That's a big deal. But beans on fish, kind of different. But anyways, some beans on toast. Well, you can make this yourself. All right. We can buy 30 eggs, extra large eggs at Osave right up the street from us. Comes out to 8 pesos each. Okay. Hunt's baked beans. Well, let's just take a look here. You could probably get this a little bit cheaper buying it at the store, but if we order it from Grab, it's 38 pesos a can. Not quite as much beans as what you saw in the photo, but it's there. And then bread, okay, there you go, 64 pesos. So the whole thing, quite honestly, when you come right down to it, all right, it comes out to $1, a simple dollar. And that's 2 eggs, beans, and toast. And that's a nutritious, it's high in protein, high in fiber, very filling breakfast for $1. That's pretty cheap. Now, let's go to another look here, okay? Every now and then you want a steak. Well, this is where we get our steaks. And you can buy steaks cheaper. And, we've been buying steak in the Philippines for 10 years. And I can honestly tell you, these are the best steaks that we've been able to buy. Now, there are other options. You could go to the market, to the open air markets, and you can get meat there and you can have it cut to order. I mean, you can show the butcher what you want in some instances. I tend to shy away from that because honestly, I've never gotten the quality of steak there in the market. I mean, we have Pampang Market, which is right down the road from us, 5 minutes, and it's the largest open air market outside of Metro Manila in the entire island of Luzon. So anyways, we order from here. Now, you won't find them on the internet, so to speak. You're going to have this is their Facebook page, and it's Steak Choice PH. And so what happens here? Well, let me show you the quality. This is what we ordered just the other day. Arlene can call them at 10 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock in the morning, send them a Facebook Messenger and say, hey, we would like, and boom, it gets delivered by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, look at the marbling in these ribeyes and look at the marbling in this other ribeye. I mean, look how heavy. It almost looks like the marbling out of Wagyu beef. Now, granted, it doesn't have that Wagyu taste, but it is definitely melt in your mouth tender. Now, they have a variety of things you can order, all right? But as long as you order 2 kilograms currently, I don't know, these things are subject to change, but currently, if you order 2 kilograms, delivery is free. You don't even have to go to the store. So this is what a closer look at the ribeyes look like, all right? And this is another ribeye. So the first one is their slab ribeye, and the second one is their heavily marbled ribeye. And one of the things, if you go to Landers, S&R, big box stores, all right, and many other places, the detriment there is the thickness. I want my steak thick. It's easier to cook and get a seared exterior and still have a medium rare interior. We grill out. We'll fry it in a pan. We'll broil it. We'll do whatever. But, what happens? Well, just how thick is it? Well, and on the top photo, you're looking at 1.5 inches thick ribeye. Well, that's pretty comparable to what I was getting at Costco in the U.S., or what Arlen and I were buying at Costco in the U.S. And this heavily marbled, that's 1 inch thick. These are not small little steaks. So what does something like this cost? All right. So we get 4 steaks, 2 kilograms, 4 steaks. That's 4.4 pounds, 3,298 pesos, $58 for 4 steaks, $13.37. Well, try and, what's that going to cost you where you're at? However, here we are talking about how things are inexpensive. We'll get 8 steaks, 8 meals out of these steaks, $6.60 a meal, because they're big. 4 pounds, 4 steaks. These are all 1 pound steaks. Arlen and I cut them in half. So, they're there. It's inexpensive, and this is very, very good USDA choice Angus beef. Or so it says. Who knows? All right. What about going out to dinner? Well, this is Luk Fu. Luk Fu is a Chinese restaurant, Chinese Filipino restaurant. Again, not too far from us. We go every now and then. But we order large orders because we want takeout. We want to get meals out of it. And so in this particular order, I think this was actually Mother's Day weekend. And although Arlen doesn't have any children, Arlen and I don't have children, she's not have children from previous relationship, we still went out. And so we have beef and broccoli, sweet and sour pork, hot and sour soup, Shanghai spring rolls, which is the closest thing to an egg roll you can get, which is really not much different than lumpia, to be honest with you. And then Luk Fu's special fried rice, which has fried rice, bits of pork, carrots, spring onions, things like that. This is a huge order. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But think about this. We ended up we paid $46.73 US, 2,890 pesos. All right. But we got 6 meals out of this, $7.77. No dishes to wash, nothing to clean up, no prep time. All right. These are things that sometimes expats, we have, quite honestly, and I've got some more examples I'm going to show you. We have expat friends who absolutely don't cook. We have expat friends that live in 1 bedroom and in condos that are efficiencies and 1 bedroom condos and houses. And truth be told, their pots and pans just collect dust. If it doesn't go in the microwave, they don't eat it. So it is, but you should learn how to cook. You should be prepared as an expat. As a tourist, though, I don't think that while you're on vacation, paying that much for a meal, what do you pay for that kind of a meal in the U.S. or wherever it is that you're at? So what about, okay, we're going out to dinner with friends. So here we are at Tequila Reef. This was a couple weeks ago. Arlene and I, I'll leave the names out. I cover everybody up. One of our British friends, he's from London, maybe Manchester. You know what? I can't remember. But anyways, him and his partner and a couple of their friends and Eddie, one of our buddies, we go out to Tequila Reef and have dinner. So we're out at Tequila Reef having dinner. And it's not the best food in the world, but it's certainly satisfying. So we ordered, Arlene and I had one order of chicken stir fry. That's what it is. Personally, I like the chicken chop suey better. It has a lot more vegetables and just as much chicken. All right. We had an extra order of rice. Okay. And so you ended up with this. That's a full-size plate. That's a large plate. And that's how much is there. So we got 2 meals out of this. 2 meals. What would you pay? Well, we paid $10.27 for Asian stir fry, 1 frozen margarita. Arlene had a frozen margarita. I had bottled water, 1 extra steamed fried rice, 45 pesos. That's a little expensive, don't you think? $1 for fried steamed rice, but is what it is. Okay, $5.13 per person for dinner. Isn't that reasonably inexpensive? And it's good food. It really and truly is. All right. How about this? I told you we cook here at home. Now, I'm not showing you Filipino foods. I mean, Arlene cooks adobo, sisig, lumpia, pancit, all kinds of other stuff and everything. But most of you aren't going to cook that at home. Although some of you will, but most of you won't. So Arlene buys hamburger meat. She splits it in half. Half she makes into these. These are almost quarter pound, if close not, quarter pound burgers. All right. And she makes this hamburger mushroom sauce. And so, that's a meal at our house, when it's a traditional American meal. And for those of you that don't know, Arlene used to live in the United States. She cooks both Filipino food. She cooks American food. She even dabbles once in a while in Thai food. I wish we would do that a little bit more often, but, it is what it is. So what does that come out to? Well, we get out of that, we'll get 7 portions. Now, this is 2 portions, all right? 2 quarter-pound patties, mashed potatoes, mushroom sauce. The meat was about 52 pesos per quarter-pound burger. 2 cans of mushrooms, which was like 118 pesos, I'm sorry. A can of cream of mushroom soup, 92 pesos. That's kind of expensive compared to what you can buy it for in the U.S. I don't know about where you live, but still. And then potato, 50 pesos. At 7 portions, that's $5.04. That is inexpensive, I think. Now, granted, I'm not going to try and sugarcoat something here. You can eat a lot cheaper. You don't have to eat this. But for many expats, all right, that don't cook, for many expats that do cook, these are some of the options that are out there for tourists that are coming. These are some of the options that are out there. And this is available in Manila, Makati, Bohol, all over. We find the prices of good food to be very reasonable. And we find the prices of excellent food. There are, and I could show you, but that's not what this was about, several of the high-end areas that we go to. Now, we don't, very rare do we go to a high-end type of meal or setting. In fact, the picture from Tequila Reef, our buddy just got back from Manila. Now, he spends 2 weeks here, and then he has an office in Dubai, and he flies back and forth between Dubai and here. He has a condo here. He has an office and a home in Dubai. He has a much higher gastronomical desire, I guess. Okay? He loves food. And he just came back from a food chef tasting or something like that. It was 6,000 pesos, $120 per person. Unlimited. They had like 34 food stations of food from all over, chefs from all over, sous chefs from all over. It gets from one extreme to another. It really does. But good food can be had here. Can you get good food, fresh food at the market, the local market? You can. All right. You need to be careful. You need to be cautious. All right. There are people that say, well, they come in, they disinfect, they do this. You have no idea what's in that bottle that they're using to spray. And I can tell you, we've been at the market at 3:30 in the morning waiting for the deliveries to start coming in at 4. Some stuff is frozen. Some stuff is not. Some stuff isn't even refrigerated. But some stuff is great. And so just like you have to be cautious in your own, you go to a grocery store. I used to get a big kick out of this. This is something that my daughter taught me that I didn't realize until much later. All right. So my daughter taught me that you can go to a grocery store in America. Now, I don't know about other places, but in America, and buy hamburger meat, for instance, and it'll say fresh ground today, and it'll have the date. All right. Yeah, it might be fresh ground today, but it may have been on display as beef roast a week ago or 4 days ago. And now it's met its match time. So they're trying to get rid of it. They're going to grind it up into hamburger, add some fat to it. It's 85% lean, 80%, 75, 90, whatever. All right. So, you've got to be careful in a grocery store in the U.S. You got to be careful other places. Now, we used to have a butcher that we used to go to in Phoenix, but over the years, things got different there, and that didn't really carry on the last few years that we were in Phoenix. However, can you eat good food inexpensively? Yes. If you can cook, or if you're willing to cook, or even a little. What's it take to learn how to fry an egg? If you can't fry an egg, you really shouldn't probably be traveling overseas. Okay? That's just an opinion. Probably not true. But either way. So, compared to what you're paying where you live, compared to what you're paying even here in the Philippines, all right? When you exclude Filipino food, which we did in this particular instance because many of you will not, all right? When you do that, what do you think of these prices? Do you think this is expensive? I don't know. I think, personally, that these are inexpensive. Can you eat cheaper? Certainly you can. Can you eat well cheaper? Certainly you can. But now you have to open other options, okay? And so I gave you a quick glimpse, but tell me, what do you think? In the comments below, compare that to where you're at and give us an idea. Otherwise, thank you. Please do subscribe, hit the thumbs up, thumbs down, share, and we appreciate your time. Have a great day.